Okay, so you confuse loyalty with self-abandonment. Let's handle that. Gotta handle that. Okay, so the first thing that's coming to me about why you confuse loyalty with self-abandonment is because of cultural traditions. Okay, let's dig into it. I'm gonna pull a card. I've already had a flow of downloads for your uploads happening, but we're this is a topic we're gonna go in on. I'm not gonna rush this one at all. Okay, okay. Ha! Man, when people create an alignment, I'm telling you, it be on point. This is how you know God's. Okay. What's a belief you outgrew before you admitted it? On point. Right in alignment of the topic. What's a belief that you outgrew before you admitted it? Wow. Okay. So we're about to go in. This is that cultural traditions thing that I was already feeling led to talk about. Okay? And this is what I was sensing about cultural traditions, right? Okay, and so intuitively, we know, right? When it's time to outgrow the nest of beliefs. But usually we just kind of ignore those feelings because it goes against tradition. It goes against the religion. It goes against the family, right? That's why we're going to dig in today. So one of the first examples that came to me on this topic before I started recording was I was raised in a Christian home. My parents are pastors, okay? Married for over 40 years. And I'm no longer a Christian. I don't associate with any one particular religion. I let God lead me on what I should do. And if God tells me to wrap my hair, that's what I'm going to do. If God tells me to do whatever, that's what I'm going to do. And it just so happens to align with a mixture of different faiths, okay? But like in the Christian belief, there's something called communion, right? And in communion, you break bread and you drink a drink. And it represents, I guess it's for the remission of sins or something like that. And the bread or the cracker represents the body of Christ, like Yeshua's body, Jesus's body. And the drink represents Jesus's blood. Now, I remember hearing about sacrifices in the Old Testament a lot of times. And one, it always threw me off about those sacrifices because I was like, why are we killing animals, right? Why? Why do we have to kill animals? And why do you have to put your son on the altar potentially to be killed as a sacrifice? Like, those type of things never made sense. But then when it came to communion, why are we eating flesh and drinking blood, right? Like, although it's bread and it's grape juice or wine, right? It represents flesh. And it represents blood. If something doesn't make sense to me, it just don't make sense. Make it make sense, please. Because that sounds like cannibalism to me. It does. And no matter how you try to explain it away, it sounds like cannibalism. Is Jesus a vampire? Just tell me. Just tell me. I just want to know. If Jesus is a vampire, cool. then we can go from there. We can go by that truth, and then I can decide for myself if I want to be a vampire. But don't just initiate me into a vampire culture without my permission. That's all I'm saying, right? And so, out of loyalty, because everyone else is doing it and everyone else is saying this makes sense, for years I did it. Okay? And then I didn't. So even when I was still going to church and attending church services and things like that, eventually I got to the point, especially in my adult years, where I was like, I don't want to eat the flesh. And I don't want to drink the blood. I don't care if it's Jesus or not. I don't eat flesh or drink blood now. I am a vegan. So my vegan lifestyle says I shouldn't take communion. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Right? Okay. Weird. So this is the same thing with like confusing loyalty with self-abandonment, right? Like if I'm not going to do that with anything else, why am I doing that? Because this is a belief from my current supposedly faith, right? Of course, I've upgraded and evolved past that now. But it goes deeper into like, even I'll go into deeper things that I've had to work with like loyalty and relationships that I learned behaviors that I had, right? I remember once upon a time, I used to say because I knew how to have such a strong mind and still be stable, mostly because we kind of dealt with this earlier in previous conversations about having a high tolerance for pain, right? I dealt with a lot of traumas. Because I've dealt with those traumas and still been able to come out with a smile and a happy, joyful spirit at the end, it was like, I can go through anything, right? And I had gotten to the point where I was like, this was like in my early 20s. This is not where I'm at now. Okay? Where I would say, if we break up, it's going to be because of him. It's not going to be because of me, right? And so I outgrew that, right? Because I was like, yeah, how long am I gonna take this ish? How long am I gonna take the abuse? How long am I gonna take the abandonment? Like, I'm gonna let you leave for 30 days and not talk to me and be okay with that? Is that really love? No, it's not. So I got rid of that belief, But that's where I was at because of this loyalty complex that I had, right? And so this is what I want to deal with within you. What are you being loyal to at the cost of yourself? At the cost of your evolution? At the cost of your freedom? At the cost of your godliness? At the cost of your love? At the cost of your femininity and your softness? At the cost of your trust? Right? This even includes being loyal to family members. I no longer believe in loyalty to family because we come from the same blood. Because there's bad-ish in blood. And some people got that bad-ish. Period. And I'm at the point now where I'm separating it because me and my seed, we are going to be godly. For real. When people are looking and when they're not. We are going to treat people the way we want to be treated. That's my true family. And if you got my blood and you don't, that's not your code of honor, that's not your code of ethics, we're not really family, okay? And so I have family members who are not blood because we share the same code of ethics. We share the same code of godliness. We share the same code of transparency and authenticity and loyalty to honor, right? Loyalty to mutual respect, loyalty to standing up to when you're wrong and not trying to pretend like you don't have nothing to work on. And loyalty to actually working on it when you see that there's an area that can be improved. That's my family. And that's where my loyalty lies now. And so that's what I'm encouraging for you is, you know when you've outgrown some beliefs. You know when you've outgrown some relationships. You know when you've outgrown family members and friendships. And you should not just stay there because you're loyal. Like a dog. Are you a dog? Are you a dog? Because if so, that means you're a slave. You're being a slave to those people. You're being a slave to being mistreated. You're being a slave to the devil. And although slavery might be in my ancestry, that ain't where we at now. Because royalty is also in my ancestry. And so I get to choose which one I'm going to be loyal to. Which parts of your DNA, which parts of your story, which parts of your family history are you going to be loyal to? Without abandoning the truth and the highest value of who you are. All right. Let's get another card. I believe in me. I believe in me. I believe in me. I believe in me. Do you believe in you? 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 Confidence and intuition. I'm confident in my personal power and abilities. That's what you should be loyal to. I trust my intuition and inner wisdom. That's what you should be loyal to. I don't care what book you've read, from what religion, from what history. You have God in you, and that's the truth. Trust and believe. All these books that were written by man, there's room for fault. There's room for lies. There's room for control. So you have to always use discernment and the Holy Spirit, God within, to lead you and guide you into all truth. You cannot believe everything you read. You cannot believe everything you hear. You can't believe everything you see. You have to use the Spirit of God within you to lead and direct you to the truth. Period. Okay? So remember, we don't hide. Oh, let me give you 3 journal prompts, okay? To help you face this truth and to handle it, okay? Because this is a deep-rooted thing that keeps getting passed down through the DNA. And this is how folks be going to jail for no reason, dealing with karma that was never theirs because of loyalty. Yeah, we're removing that that black code of honor that we don't tell on each other. Nah. Sock one of my friends in their face. Drag one of my friends down the hall. You best believe I'm calling somebody. Okay? We don't tell on family. We don't, nah. If you don't want to get caught, if you don't want to get jailed, don't do nothing that's gonna catch you up. That's all I'm saying. Don't do it around me. Because I don't want to have to catch the repercussions of your actions. Period. That's not love. If I end up having to go down for something I didn't do, that's on me. That's on you. If you do the same. So you got to raise your vibration, raise your standards, raise your loyalty to yourself. And anyone who doesn't measure to the same code of ethics as you need to drop it. Otherwise, you're going to lower down to theirs. And then if you lower down to theirs, now you qualify for their karma. Ugh. And a lot of people get stuck in this because they sell their soul, right? So they make deals. And then you got to fess up to those deals. And sometimes you got to settle with what you dealt with. But you better make better decisions in the future. 3 journal prompts. Where do I shrink to keep the peace? Okay. Number 2. Whose comfort do I prioritize over my own truth? Number 3. What boundary feels overdue even if it disappoints someone I love? That's the hardest one. Having to tell the truth. Hold people accountable. When it may cost your relationship. Sometimes you hold people accountable and they rise to the occasion. Sometimes you hold people accountable and they're not ready for that level of honesty. They're not ready for that level of truth. And you got to leave them where they're at. And you got to continue to rise. Okay? Man, I've had to separate myself from family members, friends, jobs, people, things, habits. Because I choose God. I choose the highest value, the highest vibration, the highest level of being human, the highest level of being God in this form. Because my vision is on a new earth where we can all be this and be free. And not have to worry about jealousy, hate, disdain. We can really put out our inventions without looking over our shoulders and seeing who's going to try and take it. We could really just be brilliant freely, right? We could just really be giddy and goofy freely, regardless of your gender. This is the world I'm creating. This is the world I'm participating in. And I'm willing to let go of anything that's not a match for it, period. Remember, we don't hide from the truth. We handle it sovereignly. Peace, y'all.